Alrighty, it's your boy Zxous and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 best characters of Goddess of Victory Nikke. Now, a bit of the disclaimer. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to agree with at least the characters on the top 10, but you guys might not agree with the placements. So like always, make sure you guys comment your placement and your top 10 down in the comments, and why, because I'm always reading the comments. Another thing to note is that I will value DPS, supporters slash healers, and then defenders on this list. I'm not saying that a defender or supporter can't be number one, but I'm just saying obviously because of how this game works, and for example the game having a timer in all content, you're going to need damage in order to win, right? You're going to need a supporter to stay alive, supporter slash healer to stay alive, and then a tank is also just like a sub way to stay alive. It's not really needed in order to stay alive because of the healers and the supporters of the game. So keep all that in mind when watching this video. So before we get into all that, make sure you guys subscribe and like if you guys are new, because obviously it helps out a lot. And let's get into the video. Now at number 10 we have Privity. Now Privity is a character who is actually classed as an attacker, but more of a supporter of this game. She's a fantastic character overall. I think this is a character that can take you from the beginning to the end of the game. She's literally used in all types of content, from PvP to special interception to story. She's used everywhere. Now the reason why she's so good is because when you enter your full burst, which is a common thing you're going to be doing in this game, she is going to actually add so much value to your entire team while in that full burst. For example, she's going to give them an attack buff, she's going to give them reload speed buff, or reload speed increase if you will, and she's also going to be lowering the max ammo capacity. Now I know that might sound bad to some of you guys, but that could be very good for a lot of characters in this game, especially the characters that either need to hit the last bullet, or characters that, that's really it. I mean, characters that just need to hit the last bullet, right? I don't really see why else they would need to lower ammo capacity, but besides that, that's a really nice feature. She also does have a stun for 3 seconds when she uses her burst skill, and an AoE, so she has much more value there in the sense of PvP. Being able to stop the team for 3 seconds is kind of all you really need to change the game. So this character right here is going to be my 10th pick for the best character in the game. At 9 we have Guilty. Now Guilty is a free character that you actually do end up getting from Liberation, and I felt like she was supposed to be here in the top 10 simply because of how very good she is as a DPS. Now her whole gimmick is that she kind of duplicates the attack from the highest attacker on your team and just gives it to herself so that she can start doing insane damage, and that's her whole kit really. Now she also can lower defense when her Mind If I Borrow This buff is fully stacked, and the Mind If I Borrow This buff is the duplicated attack that stacks up, and then also she does stack up attack per stack of that buff as well. She's a very good character in my eyes. Probably a character that can take you from the beginning to the end of the game, but you won't actually be able to get her early on in the game just because of how long it takes to get her. It takes about, I want to say, 2 to 3 months if you don't refresh at all, most likely. And I think if you do refresh a month to 2, I'm not 1000% on the calculations there, but a fantastic character. This is the fact that she's a free character as well is very insane. This is like a must have if you're looking for a DPS burst 2. She's the best character in the game to do that. The best DPS burst 2 character in the game for you, guaranteed. Now in 8th, I'm going to have Snow White. Now Snow White is a character who actually is very good in the game, but what she's really known for is boss killing. Now she also does increase her crit rate when she's in a full burst, and she does increase her attack when she lands 30 bullets, I believe. But what she's really known for is her burst skill, which basically gives her 1 bullet, but the charge damage actually gets increased to 1000%, and she gains the pierce effect. It basically becomes a nuking shot. A nuking shot is basically a shot that will one tap or remove a certain like a large amount of HP on the bosses, and she's going to be very good for the game because obviously, like I said, especially when it comes to end game, special interception is like really the main thing you're doing. PvP, I don't know how much, I wouldn't say she has much value there. If you want my honest opinion, I wouldn't say she has much value there, just because it still takes long for her to charge up 1000%. That's a big number, right? But if she was to fully charge it off and let it off, she would one-shot any character in PvP realistically. And then also, when it comes to story, a lot of the story bosses are going to need this character to fight. You're going to need her in order to like kill them, right? It's not a must-have, but having her is definitely going to be an advantage over players who do not have her when it comes to cheesing and just killing, nuking bosses in the higher end of story. So I'm definitely going to say Snow White is 8th place in the top 10 characters of the game right now. Now in 7th, we have Senti. Now Senti is a character who has one thing really going for her. Now she also does have damage or defense reduction, right? Or she lowers the defense of the enemies, 5 enemies on her burst skill. But what she's really known for is her second ability, which basically gives her a shield every other 3 to 4 seconds, depending on how your Senti is built, that basically will nullify one attack. Because how shields work in this game specifically is that it won't tank the damage and then the remaining damage overlaps onto your HP. Once you have a certain number on your shield, that's your max HP now, and it's like an extra life bar or HP bar that just becomes, it literally doubles an HP bar. So let's say her HP bar has the capacity of 1 damage. If a boss was to do 1,000,000 damage to her, she wouldn't die, the shield would just break. It kind of just absorbs all the damage no matter what the number is. But if the number is more than the capacity of the shield would just break and be destroyed, right? But that is a very, very, very good effect that she has, especially since it happens every 3 to 4 seconds depending on how you build her, because her first skill actually lowers the cooldown of her second skill, and that shield skill is her second skill. It's a very, very, very nice character, very good and very like must have. She can cheese a lot, and I mean a lot, of the content in this game, especially since a lot of the gimmicks so these bosses have take time, and that's going to be more than enough time for her to be on the shield and off the shield. I think actually the game kind of built it to where her shield is actually being procced more when they're about to do something than they're not. But that's just from my own testing and other people's testing, and I'm not sure if they actually coded it like that. But overall, I would say Senti is a top 10 character in the game, easily. Fantastic character to have. Again, she's a defender, but her defending is next to literally insane. Like, there's no defender who even comes close to being as good as that. Being able to proc a shield every other 3 to 4 seconds that nullifies a massive blow is going to be literally right there, the definition of cheese. Another thing to note about Senti is that she actually has fantastic burst generation for your burst skills so that you guys can get into a full burst. I always tend to forget to mention that when talking about this character, but it should be known. She's one of the best, if not the best, burst generator in this game, so keep that in mind as well. Now in 6, we have Alice. Now Alice is actually the hardest hitting character in this game that is not a pilgrim, for the simple fact that she just cheeses herself, especially when you have her insanely built with overload gear. So essentially what Alice does is she guaranteed has the pierce effect when her HP is 80% or higher. Now when her HP falls below 80%, she actually gets an ability where she just continuously heals until she gets back to 80% to recover that pierce effect. So you're either always healing with her or you're always getting the pierce effect with her. Very, very good right there. Now, what makes her shine is she's the only sniper in the game to actually have a total of 350 charge damage. Every other sniper has a total of 250. So she gets an extra 100 charge damage there. And what really makes her shine on top of the other characters is that when you use her burst skill, she actually increases her charge speed by an insane amount and her attack by a massive amount, to the point where you're basically spamming shots with her. So now just think about it like this. You're increasing her attack by a lot, you're increasing her charge speed by a lot, and she has a total of 350 charge damage. Boom. Now with the pierce effect, apply that as well. And then she also does increase her charge damage and charge speed even more on her first skill for, I think, herself and 2 other allies with the highest attack, which is very, very good. But essentially, she's going to be able, depending on how you build her, she's going to be able to spam massive charge damage shots, which is literally, it would look like you're cheating. It looks like a hack in the game. I'm telling you guys right now, when you actually build up your Alice and give her the overload gear that she needs with the right rolls, she looks like she is hacked. She looks like she is cheating in the game. The fact that you could just click a button and you're fully charged up on your charge damage shot is very, very broken. She's the only character who's really doing that for herself. Very, very. Imagine if like Snow White was able to use multiple shots at 1000 damage but could spam that. It's basically insane. That's basically what she's doing, but instead of it being 1000, it's 350 with the pierce effect and all. So she's a very, very good character. I will say Alice is guaranteed a top 6 character in the game. I will say she's a fantastic character. If you do have her, I'm not sure how far she's going to be able to take you early on, but obviously again, when you get her that overload gear, she's going to be fantastic, right? Late game, she's already fantastic. She's good against all the bosses in the game. PvP, she's going to be nice there as well. Not the greatest, but she's going to be okay there. And then obviously the story, she's going to be fantastic too, because you're gonna, again, end the story is majority of these like insane bosses. It's not these like Rapture mini bosses. It's like actual bosses like Chatterbox, Stormbringer, Land Eater, like actual bosses that you're gonna actually kind of need Alice to handle. So I will say Alice is top 6 character in the game. We have now entered our top 5, and I will say with confidence that my top 5, well, just the top 5 in general, is Rapunzel. Rapunzel is the best healer in this game. It's kind of a staple for majority, if not literally all the content in the game. You're going to need a healer everywhere you go, right? You're going to need a healer for majority of the bosses. You're going to need a healer for story. You're going to need a healer for PvP. You're going to need a healer for tower. You're going to need a healer anywhere where you know you're going to get hurt very, very badly. Now, one thing about Rapunzel is that she can actually revive. Now, she's not the only character to be able to revive and can also revive in this game, but Rapunzel is not only a character that can revive, but she's a character who increases healing received and increases your max HP. Not to mention every full charge shot she lands, she actually ends up healing, I believe, 3 allies with the lowest HP. Very, very good. I think she's actually the only character in the game that can heal consistently like that for your entire team. Very, very capable, very, very dependable. And that's literally why she would be in top 5, right? I think this is a staple for the game. If you have this character and you do not use her, but you do need a healer, she should be your first choice, right? Healers are not must needs on your team, but again, this girl is literally a cheese, especially when it comes to the end game of story. So if you have her, I hope you guys start investing into her. At least start early or not, because she's a fantastic character who can keep you alive. Now in 4th we have Dorothy. Now Dorothy is a fantastic character. She's the only burst 1 character who's actually can do damage in the game. She's a supporter character, but her whole role is that she acts as a DPS. So essentially what makes her so broken is her burst skill being a 20-second cooldown burst skill, but she actually applies a brand debuff on the enemy of your choice, whoever you decide to put it on, and damage that's done from your entire team will go into that debuff and it will be accumulated. After 10 seconds, that debuff will explode and the damage that was all accumulated would be exploded and spread across the entire map to all enemies of the max capacity your Dorothy has, depending on her level. Now, she also does end up changing her second skill, which is very good. Basically, every 20 seconds, she deals a total of, I believe, 216% attack as damage, right, every 20 seconds. But in her burst skill, she actually changes that from 20 seconds to 2 seconds for 10 seconds, which means in the total of 10 seconds of the burst skill, you're going to be able to use her second skill 5 times. Very, very good character. A very, very good character. She also does a lower cooldown for the burst skill on her first skill when the last bullet hits, and when she's in her transform state, which is this state right here. This is her regular state right here, and this is her transform. Okay, well, that's her regular state, and then this is her transform state. When she's in this state and the last bullet hits, all allies actually get a damage dealt increase to enemy parts. She's literally the definition of a boss killer, a boss supporter, and she's the only character, like I said before, the only burst 1 character in the game who can actually do damage, right? And when I say that, I mean tens of millions of damage. She is literally insane. A very, very good character, and I know a lot of people might not agree with her being in 4th place because of who's in 3rd place, but we're gonna get into that right now. Now in third place we have Litter. Now Litter is literally a character who has been the best burst one since the game has released. I know a lot of people say she's been replaced with Dorothy. I also believe that as well, but in a general sense I do feel like Litter kind of has more value than Dorothy, just because she's literally used everywhere, right? Dorothy's fantastic against bosses, she's good against mob clearing, and she's even pretty decent in PvP. But Litter right here is good everywhere. Like, she's a kind of a must-use unit everywhere she goes, right? So essentially what she does is she's the only character who can actually do it like this. Obviously Coco is another character who can do this as well, but not the same way. But she can rebuild cover. Now Coco is a character who actually rebuilds cover as well for all allies, but it's a certain percent based on her max HP. Litter here is a character who rebuilds cover just based on how much percentage the cover has lost. So for example, Litter can recover 50% of the cover. That's it. That's literally it. 50% of the cover. If 50% HP of the cover is removed, she can rebuild it. Where Coco, it's like 9% of her max HP, which is not as good. It's not even close to good, right? Not to mention she actually does. Litter has a massive attack buff increase. It is only for 5 seconds, but it's still a massive attack increase to all allies. And then she also has one of those gimmicks where, depending on how much time she uses her burst skill, she gets a new effect. So the first time she uses it, I believe she gets ammo capacity increased to all allies. The second time she uses her burst skill, she gets crit damage increased to all allies. And the third time she uses her burst skill, it's even more attack increased to all allies. A fantastic character. She's literally used everywhere. Story, Tower of Trials, PvP, Simulation Room, Lost Sector, wherever you go into this game, she is a staple on any and every single team there, right? Again, you can replace her with Dorothy because Dorothy does have the damage to kind of, I want to say, replace everything that Litter has, essentially. But again, having that rebuild cover and that massive attack buff is going to be game changing, especially for a lot of the gimmicks of the game. So remember that, please. Now in second place we have Modernia. Now Modernia is an insane character. She does a lot. A lot of people do see her as one, and yes, in the sense of a general valued character, Modernia would technically be one in my eyes. I would say Modernia is one in terms of a general value, but just overall, I do not think she beats whoever is in number one, and we'll get to that soon. But let's talk about Modernia. So Modernia is a character who actually does increase the burst time by an extra 5 seconds. She's not the only character to do that. There's multiple characters who can do that, like D, and also D is the only one that comes up to mind honestly right now, but there's a lot of other characters who can also do that. Modernia not only can increase the burst skill by an extra 5 seconds, but she does get unlimited bullets when she's in her burst skill. It's a very, very insane mechanic here. She also does increase her line of sight when it comes to her radius of her marks, right? Basically her targeted marks, whatever, to aim at an enemy, the radius becomes massive, and every enemy that's in that circle will actually be recognized as one enemy. So you don't actually have to attack, every single enemy. You can just attack one enemy in the circle, but every other enemy that's in that circle will actually receive the same damage. It's very, very broken as she is. Now, she also does increase her attack when she lands 200 attack. She does stack up that as well. She can. She also does increase her hit rate. Very, very good character. She's literally used everywhere. I want to say in PvP is like the only place where she kind of downgrades a bit. And it's not bad in PvP, but it's just obviously in PvP you would want more of an AoE, like an actual full screen AoE. I want to say her radius increase essentially changes it into an AoE, but like a hand-me-down half version of an AoE, where you have characters like Haran and you have characters like Scarlet who actually just, they have real AoEs, full screen AoEs. No matter where they are, they're gonna get hit. So I do want to say that, but I do think Modernia is a top 10 character of the game, so keep that in mind. And at number one, we have Scarlet. Now, a lot of people might not agree with this one because, again, like I said, Modernia is number one to a lot of people's eyes. But let's talk about Scarlet. So Scarlet is a character who essentially loses HP, but in return gets massive, massive attack power. She's a character who can increase her attack by, I believe, 23% when max leveled, and that stacks up to 5 times. So she could increase her own attack by over 100%, and how she works is very good. So when her HP falls below 60%, she actually does get a crit damage buff, and when it falls below 50%, she actually does get a crit rate buff on top of the crit damage buff, on top of the massive attack she's already giving herself. Over 100% to one character is very, very insane. Now, she is also a character that she has a 30% chance to actually, when she gets hit, a 30% chance to deal damage to the enemy that attacked her based on attack. Now, again, with her attack being enhanced by over 100%, that makes it a very, very, very broken. But I do actually believe that it's only base attack and not enhanced attack, so that doesn't really matter there. But again, her increasing her own attack is insane, especially when she has an AoE ultimate, and then fantastic character. She does do the most damage in the game, and that's literally why you would want her at number 1, simply because she does the most damage in the game. Now, if you guys know me, I would say the best character in the game is a character who supports themselves and the team more than just doing the damage. But in reality, this game does have a timer when it comes to every single content in the game, so you could have all the support, all the tank you need to survive, but if you do not have the damage, you will not win. And this character easily does the most damage in the game, and this character can get you the win. She actually beats a lot of bosses quickly, right? She actually can beat the Train, who is the hardest boss in Special Interception. She's the one who can beat that boss very quickly. Modernia, Chatterbox, she is probably the fastest killer in this game as well, right? A very, very unique character, and a very, very unique unit in general, right? Very hard to get as well because she's a pilgrim and she never had her own like raid up banner, but a fantastic character. So that is going to be my number 1 slot. So those are going to be my top 10 characters of Nikke. Let me know if you guys agree or not. I know I'm going to see comments about Haran not being in my top 10, and characters like Pepper not being in my top 10. Heck, even a character like Rupee not being in my top 10. But in terms of overall value, I don't feel like those characters are as useful as the characters that are in my top 10. Maybe Snow White you guys might have an argument there, but I don't feel like I feel like Guilty's used everywhere. I feel like all these characters who are in the top 10 are used more and have much more value than these characters that you guys might mention, like Haran, like maybe Noise, right, Rupee. I feel like these characters just have more general value than those characters. But again, you guys can also let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys at least agree with the character choices, maybe not the placements, but let me know if you guys agree with me or not. But for now, it's going to be your boy Zxous. Make sure you guys subscribe and like, because like I said in the beginning of the video, it helps out a ton. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Later. Peace.